The president announced earlier today that he postponed that planned attack on Iran that would have happened today. Retired U.S. Marine Corps Colonel Mike Jernigan will be with me in focus. Let's begin with Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst on the ground in Tel Aviv. And Trey, I understand the Middle East, every country there pretty much was, on the brink of watching what would have been unfolding today. What is it like today? What's being said?
Yeah, Harris, I can tell you officials here in the region are watching closely what President Trump just said from the White House, talking about the fact we may have to hit them again. And he laid out a timeline that is anywhere from 2 to 3 days into next week. What was interesting, though, the president talking about his red line for the regime, that has not changed following that announcement overnight on Truth Social that he had planned to attack Iran today, but is holding off due to a request from Gulf leaders. That timeline remains the biggest question as the Israeli military remains on high alert, along with an ongoing U.S. military buildup across the region. President Trump indicated this is a temporary pause to see if an agreement can be reached.
How close were you to striking Iran?
I was an hour away. We were all set to go. You're talking about yesterday.
Yes.
We were going to be striking it would have been happening right now. Yeah, it was all done. The boats, the ships are all loaded. They're loaded to the brim. And we were all set to start.
An hour away from the decision, the president said there from Washington. This as the Iranians released new statements overnight with the country's president, Masoud Pezeshkian, saying dialogue does not mean surrender, and a senior Iranian official, Mohsen Razi, attacking President Trump on X, saying he sets a deadline for a military attack and then cancels it himself with the false hope that he will surrender the Iranian nation and officials. The iron fist of the powerful armed forces and the great nation of Iran will force them to retreat and surrender. We're also getting new images from inside of Iran that show a nomadic Iranian tribe marching in Tehran and chanting "Death to America." Some held weapons as they listened to a speech in the capital city.
There is no point in negotiating with the aggressor, bloodthirsty and child-killing enemy. We just fight to eliminate the enemy from the Middle East, even from this planet.
Very threatening language from the Iranians as President Trump indicated from Washington the U.S. military is prepared if he gives new orders to strike Iran. Harris?
Look, Trey, you and I have had a lot of talk about the faiths and religions in that part of the world, and I'm curious, it is Hajj coming up in a few days. 2 to 3 million Muslims go to Saudi Arabia during that time. Is that perhaps any of the calculus going on about, quote unquote, another hit them?
It could be. There are a lot of calculations taking place behind the scenes, and I spoke with one regional source last night who was quiet as it relates to what comes next. There's an understanding that the Israelis and the Americans are sharing real-time intelligence to ensure that the moon is not out in a way that U.S. forces could operate, that air defense systems are located where they need to be, and that these refuelers are prepared to take off and support fighter jets that could be in the skies of Iran if President Trump orders these strikes. And so a lot of moving parts here, and the region really is bracing for the possibility that this war resumes in the days ahead.
Yeah, that
Harris?
would put a lot of people on the ground, where we know we've got support, and we support them, like Saudi Arabia and other parts around the Middle East as well, if they do this, across our holiday, happens to be about the same time as Hajj. All right, thank you very much for setting us up for the first guest. In focus now, retired U.S. Marine Corps Colonel Mike Jernigan. He served as an Iraqi invasion commander, also a former lead strategist for U.S. Pacific Command and a Heritage Foundation visiting fellow. Great to see you today. Hearing the president just say the words, "We may have to hit them again," what does that mean militarily to you? What would that look like?
Yeah, militarily, good morning, Harris. Thanks again good to see you.
Absolutely.
I think there's two things going on. There's military and there's economic, and the economics is having an enormous effect. And by the president coming out and saying, yeah, we were going to do it an hour from now, but now we're not, that adds additional pressure to the Iranians. Militarily, what this strike could look like is a variety of mechanisms. We could do the full Monty that you've seen before with all of the attacks and every night, every day, every minute. And we could have done that again 11 hours after the ceasefire was called. So it's important to remember that the president is using some rhetoric and diplomacy to give space for the Iranians to make good decisions. But we could do a full-on attack. We could do a land invasion. We could do an attack a night. We could do an attack an hour. We could just say that we're going to attack and then randomly attack once every 2 weeks. The uncertainty becomes a weapon in helping the Iranians, get to a good decision to give up their nuclear weapon ambitions.
Yeah. What about our weaponry and what's available? A lot of reporting recently about what we need to perhaps build back, put back into our arsenal. How does it look for such an attack stream the way that you laid it out?
Yeah, the Heritage Foundation did a report in January called Tidal Wave, where they examined munition and fuel expenditure, particularly in extended conflict with the People's Republic of China. And so in the long term, we are going to need to replace munitions. But in the short term, we have exactly what we need to do what we need to do in Iran.
All right. You mentioned China, and there's been a lot to say about that this week. I want to ask my team to pop up what we have. Since then, we heard some rhetoric from China's, I call them management over there, because sometimes they don't talk with one voice and sometimes they do. But President Trump also talked about China in relation to the Iran conflict when he was speaking just moments ago. Let's watch.
President Xi and I had really an amazing time. I think he'd say the same thing, but he promised that he's not sending any weapons. And, if you think about it, he gets 40% of his oil. He's not sending oil boats in, tankers in with 20 destroyers alongside of him. No, he wants it. He does want it open, like me. I want it open, and we'll get it open.
So if China says it promises that it won't give weapons to Iran, do we trust them?
No.
No matter how many times the president
like
visits.
You said, right. The PRC is being very careful right now in deliberately not endorsing Iran's claims for territorial for the Straits of Hormuz, but they're also not disagreeing with it because they're doing the same thing. The infamous 9-dash line in 2023 was quietly extended to a 10-dash line, now bordering Japanese Senkaku Islands in the north and including Malaysia in the south of the South China Sea. So the People's Republic of China has an interest in excessive territorial claims, and that's why they are not coming out against Iran's excessive territorial claims. Now, as for the PRC saying we won't send them weapons, part of that may be because all of their systems that were on the ships are at the bottom of the Arabian Gulf right now.
Right. And one last one for you, kind of adjacent topic. Iran reportedly activated its air defense systems on Qasem Island near the Strait of Hormuz last night. And state media are reporting the Revolutionary Guard heard explosions and saw drones flying. What do you make of it?
There's several things to make of that. I think the interested parties in the region, the United Arab Emirates comes to mind, Saudi Arabia comes to mind, Qatar, Bahrain, all of those have been attacked in this recent engagement with Iran. And 9 ports have been damaged. 6 liquid natural gas fields have been damaged. So it wouldn't surprise me if some of the locals in the area are starting to do some of their own attacks against Iran.
Interesting. Colonel Jernigan, always great to have you. Appreciate you being with me for the breaking news. Thank you. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.